stopping by. My name's Edshara, and today I'm going to be doing my very first Top 5 Wednesday. Now, this week's topic is books to read without the synopsis. So basically books that are either spoiled in the synopsis or books that most people would tell you don't read the synopsis, just go into the book blind. So I already have my 5 choices, so I'm just going to jump right in. My first one is Stalking Jack the Ripper by Kerri Maniscalco. I read a lot of mystery books, and I feel like they all kind of follow the same sort of formula, so it's usually pretty easy for me to figure out the whodunit. So I'm always on the lookout for the books where the author is able to, surprise me. However, if you read the synopsis for Stalking Jack the Ripper, there's a pretty big hint as to who the suspect is going to be in it. And so once I started reading the book and I had that hint in my head, I ended up figuring out who the killer was well before the author revealed it in the book. And so that was a bit of a bummer for me. So I would have preferred to have gone into that book blind. So my second choice is Story Thieves by James Riley. Now, this is every bookworm's dream. The main character, Bethany, has the ability to jump into books and kind of live within the world and interact with all of the different characters. And I think that would have been enough for me to know and still really enjoy this book. However, if you read the synopsis, it tells you a lot of the major plot points that happen. And while it didn't spoil my reading experience, I think there were some things that I would have liked to have discovered while I was reading the book rather than knowing beforehand just by reading the synopsis. So this is definitely one to read, but I would try to go into it blind. Just look at the picture. The picture is a very good representation of kind of what happens, and just go off of that. Don't read the synopsis because it gives away way too much. My third book is In the Woods by Tana French. This was one of the few books that I bought based on the synopsis, and I ended up being very disappointed because what the synopsis leads you to believe this book is about doesn't even get resolved within this book. And that was very disappointing because I ended up suffering through over 400 pages, and what I wanted to know, they didn't even really tackle. It was in the book. It was kind of a starter for what actually happened in the book, but it wasn't what the book was about. So I felt like I should have not read the synopsis and just read the book as as perhaps a mystery or somewhat of a thriller, because it ended up being completely different from what I thought it was going to be. So I felt lied to, and I ended up not enjoying this book at all. So my next choice is The Hate You Give by Angie Thomas. Now, this is one of my favorite books of the year. However, I almost skipped it after reading the synopsis. And my thought process was, okay, I want to support an African-American debut author, but I see this stuff on the news. I see it streamed live on Facebook. It's real. It's horrible. And unfortunately, we all know how it usually ends. So I didn't want to read a book about it. But I'm very glad that I got past the synopsis. I'm very glad that I listened to the hype, because this book is about so much more. While Khalil's murder is the focal point of the story, it's also about the process and the aftermath of it. It is about how Star deals with this event, how it affects her. It is about how her family handles this event and how they, rally to support her. It's about, the actions and the support of the community. And there's also a really good sort of secondary storyline that's going on in here that you might miss out on if you just look at the synopsis and say, okay, it's a, unarmed African-American kid killed by a police officer. And so I know it's kind of hard because this book is so hyped and there's a movie coming out, but I do think that this is probably a book for people to go into blind, just because it is such heavy subject matter and because people do have such strong opinions about the issue. It probably would be a good idea if people didn't read the synopsis. And my last choice is Illuminate, the first book in the Illuminate Files series by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. When I picked this one up, all I knew about it was a girl breaks up with her boyfriend and then their planet is attacked. And everybody was saying, go into it blind, and that's how I went into it, and I'm so glad that I did. If you look at the synopsis on the dust jacket, there are some things redacted or blacked out. But if you read the synopsis on Goodreads, a lot of those redacted things are filled in, obviously. So, I'm very happy that I didn't read the synopsis beforehand because it made the book more interesting, especially since I listened to the audiobook. It kind of made me feel like I was a part of the story and that I was kind of discovering and figuring things out along with the characters. So I liked that I went into it blind and I wasn't able to figure anything out. Everything was a surprise, and I really like that, and I think that's the best way to go into this book. And that is it for me, guys. I really enjoyed participating in my very first Top 5 Wednesday. It was a little tough to make choices, but it was still very fun. And I hope to continue to participate in Top 5 Wednesdays on my channel in the future. So let me know any of your thoughts about the books that I chose down in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. And until next time, guys, God bless. Bye. Spirit fingers. What does it sound like? Spirit fingers.